Good evening, everybody. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario, on this, I don't know, nice night, I guess. What day is it today? Oh my gosh, February 6th. Holy. Gotta love February. So, I think everybody's brains are a little scrambled. If you follow the news, we have to adjust our brains for the Trump news cycle, which is basically all the time. So far this week, we were expecting a tariff shutdown, basically, of the Canadian economy, panicked leadership throughout the country, and then we went from that to postponement of the tariffs. And now our politicians don't know what to talk about, or they still want to talk about Donald Trump, but they're just going to piss him off, probably. They don't want to talk about their own failures, so they're talking about Donald Trump. Now, especially with the tariffs, they were going to do all sorts of fun stuff, billions and billions of dollars of spending, and Donald Trump kind of pulled a rug from under them, especially Doug Ford during his provincial election, which was the Donald Trump election, basically. And then once he pulls that rug, he does another flip, saying he's gonna pause the tariffs, but then he says the U.S. is gonna take over the Gaza Strip. So everybody's heads explode over there about this. So I said this the other day. I said yesterday, for Canada, it's kind of a good thing because he keeps them out of his attention is diverted from us. And that's a handful. If he's going to, I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's just causing shit. But if he was going to do that, he'd have his hands full. That's for sure. So heads are spinning this week with Trump. Like, it's just nonstop. Who knows what he's going to say? Like, who knows what he's going to say next? You never know. And I think that's a strategy. He likes to mess with everybody. And I think it's obviously working, because who's going to predict what the guy's going to do? He wants to be unpredictable. He's doing a good job of it. My opinion is just worry about the stuff you can control. And don't freak out over everything. But our politicians, they freaked out over the threat of tariffs instead of figuring out, like, how we got to this situation and how can we get out of it. But they're basically using Trump as what the Democrats in the U.S. did, is use him as a punching bag just to deflect from their own failure. And, that can only work for so long. But unfortunately, some Canadians are buying it. And then the Liberal leadership is still going on now, but they lost, like I said, they lost a little thunder from the Trump tariff postponement. So we'll see if they start to turn on each other more sharply. But we'll go through it. The bottom line is no predictions, just go day by day. Some interesting things, though. And it's only February. It's going to be a weird year. Hopefully we'll make it through it with our minds intact. Just want to go through the day. Sorry, I don't know how this works. Let me do this. All right. Just going to go through everything, see if it's all connected. Jeez. Okay, that's the good morning. Rodney Dangerfield, good. Okay. Canada has no vision for the future. Trudeau may be leaving, but our institutions are still completely captured and advocating for Trudeau's far left ideology. All right. That's from Greg Wycliffe, which I agree. No vision. There is no vision. There's no leadership. And the leadership is pushing this, is still pushing the same globalist ideology, just without Trudeau now. They just think they can get rid of Trudeau and all the problems disappear, but I don't think people are going to buy that. I hope not. Mm-hmm. And a little more, a lot of people are still digesting the Gaza news that Trump put down, that he wants to take over the Gaza Strip and basically kick out the almost 2 million people living there, or who were living there before it got bombed to smithereens. I shouldn't laugh because a lot of babies and kids got blown up. Horrible, horrible stuff. But it's horrible, and there's going to be fallout everywhere. It seems like we're gonna, Canada as a country is gonna be forced to take a few of these refugees. Not forced, but will. I'm sure we will, just like we did with the Syrian civil war. We took tens of thousands of refugees. Just now, I think we took a few thousand Gaza refugees. So it seems like this was the plan all along, and empty the Middle East and bring them to Canada, Europe, wherever. How many will be sent to Canada? And then it's like, Israel is no friend of Canada. So Israel orders the military to prepare options for the departure of Palestinians from Gaza to any country willing to receive them. Seems kind of fishy there. Now that Trump's the president, who knows? Who knows what he's really up to? Sounds like he's up to kicking them all out and giving the Gaza Strip to Israel, to his benefactors, I guess. But we'll find out how it all plays out. But the thing is, there's 2 million of them there, and they're not going to want to go to Egypt or Jordan. I'm sure a lot of them will either want to stay in Gaza or go to Canada or somewhere where there's, stability, I guess. So we're going to have to, I'm sure they're going to slide it in there. They're already putting it out there, the Israelis. Oh, Canada should, I think we have something coming up here. That how Canada's set up for taking in, this kind of refugee situation. So there you go. Keep an eye on that. And we're broke. Like, I don't know why we're broke. That's another story. But we can't afford another 50,000 refugees who are going to need social assistance and housing and medical care. Medical care for sure, because they're probably traumatized from the bombs. They probably got, like, what's that, shell shock, like from World War One. So, yeah. Thanks, Israel, basically unloading their problems onto us. Their damage, collateral damage onto us, because it'll be a long-term struggle for a lot of these people. Thanks to getting bombed, not just now, but for years. Like every few years, this happens over there. So So we've got to keep our eye on that. I saw a few posts today, but I don't know if it was, I don't know, Trump's just messing with people, trying to get the log jam unstuck, whatever. But 2 million people there, they got to go somewhere. And then who knows if we'll get more from Syria or from Lebanon or from Iran. Who knows? I want to read this article here. 1 dead, 15 taken into custody after 3 incidents at the Canadian-U.S. border, RCMP. Just go through this quick. Mountie saying man is dead after he crossed from the United States into Canada at the Coots border crossing in southern Alberta. It's one of the 3 incidents detailed by RCMP during a news conference in Edmonton. So he drove into Canada he passed the border point check. So he basically ran the checkpoint. He killed himself with his own firearm, it looks like. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's just reporting just because of the focus on the border. There's our premier trader, Doug Ford. Remember when Ontario Premier Doug Ford shut down churches, small businesses, playgrounds, but allowed liquor stores in his own business to remain open? Remember when he forced citizens to take experimental injections to keep their jobs and homes or eat at restaurants? Never forget what Ford Nation and all the politicians did to you. Yes. Look at this. Look, he didn't even get a haircut in solidarity with Ontarians. This is son of a bitch here. Hold on.
What it means for your... This morning, Ontario launched its own vaccine certificate. I know that many people are concerned about the certificate and what it means for your civil liberties. I want you to know that I hear you. Our government understands your concerns, but our highest concern, what keeps me up at night, is ensuring we never lose our hard-fought progress.
This USA...
Yeah, this guy who destroyed Ontario is going to protect us from Donald Trump. Oh my God, it's such a joke. It's such a joke. I don't like it at all. He is a traitor. Okay, how can Canadian Liberals be so concerned about an unelected rich dude in the United States having too much influence in politics, but ready to install an unelected rich dude as Prime Minister in Canada? That's a good question. Again, trying to mask their own failures by going after Elon or Donald Trump. Anybody but them. All right. What the F? Doug Ford demanded an early election and he can't even stand to answer basic questions. Vote this clown out. I wish we could vote him out, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, unfortunately. Let's see what he's saying here. Doug Ford walks away from the podium with journalists still waiting to ask him questions as his campaign now moves to restrict the number of reporter questions. I wonder why. We've been informed that only the first 6 reporters in line will now get to ask a question. Let's see what this says.
With other provinces and territories, but thank you.
Thank you. This concludes today's press conference.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
I love the
look at this. Bombshell.
I love the exit music. He's like a wrestler. He's like King Kong Bundy. King Kong Fucking tree. All right. Ontario is screwed with this clown and the rest of the uniparty blob. Yes. Yes, even if Ford loses and the Liberals win or the NDP win, we're still screwed. So it's a uniparty blob. And Doug Ford's the blob, head blob. A new poll from the Abacus data shows Doug Ford winning with every single demographic in Ontario, including traditionally left-wing demographics such as unionized public employees and PhDs. Yeah, so he's promising money and tax cuts and toll cuts and all that. So, like I said, this is the media helping him. They want him. They just want it over with, and because he supports the globalist plan anyway, so they don't care if he's conservative. So they're supporting him in the media, writing these rosy polls, but the unions and all them, it's all just a big blob. Doug Ford government that's currently under an RCMP criminal investigation for corruption is once again being accused of corruption. Vote them out. Yeah, this is a story today. Hopefully it gets some traction. Former Ford government staffer at the heart of the Green Belt scandal has been accused of promising to help developer for money. Okay. Whatever. That's from the Star. We'll see if that turns into anything. But now with the Trump tariffs off on the back burner, hopefully Ford actually has. Nobody's going to hold them, though. The media don't. It's a sham election. It's a waste of time, really. Team Canada did this. Never forget. 10,000 restaurants have closed across Canada since the start of the pandemic. Yeah, that's our government protecting us. Thanks for the protection. Next time, don't protect me. All right. More conspiracies proven true. This is a wild story. The U.S. aid files, it seems, are showing some big-ass money getting thrown out to all these weird causes, fomenting instability in other countries, propaganda, Hollywood actors, news organizations, funding of, like supportive coverage it's just horrible. It's a lot of hopefully, and trying to get one on Canada, all this money getting shoveled out by the federal government, by Global Affairs. So we got a few of those. All sorts of waste. I'm sure they could do a Twitter on the federal government in Canada, knock out 75% of the federal government, and it'll work just fine. The country without it, provinces can do whatever they just take up the slack. They're already set up in their ministries anyway. So if people see the waste going out in the States and probably in Canada, it's hard to ignore. So, yeah, they funded all sorts of crazy stuff. Censorship, population control, Wuhan Lab, legacy media. I don't know, this poll. Mark Carney now leads Chrystia Freeland by 40 points to become the next Liberal Party leader. 40 points. That's what I was saying. It's basically a coronation disguised as a leadership contest. So that's all there is really to it. We got another month of it to endure. Oh my God. And they're basically just doing this. Mark Carney, from basically all his public comments since announcing the leadership bid, has been the Trudeau agenda on steroids, basically. He hasn't said anything about immigration, though. I'm sure immigration will be like the same as usual, too, but for the carbon scam stuff, it's full steam ahead, albeit in a different, on a different name, like, oh, we're not going to call it the consumer carbon tax, we'll call it something else. Who knows with these guys? 40 points. It's not, I heard, and who's him and Freeland are the only two, really. And even Freeland's not getting much coverage, and she's just pretty high profile. So I think the decision's already been made, but we just got to wait another a month so they can say they were democratic. So Michael Schellenberger calls the U.S. aid stuff, it's basically a $40 billion driver of regime change abroad, and now the evidence suggests that it, along with the CIA, were behind the 2019 impeachment of Trump, an illegal regime change effort at home. That's wild. They're capable of anything, evil. This one's U.S. aid buys foreign leaders. AIPAC buys U.S. leaders. Yes, they do. These guys all need to resign. And that's another thing that bugs me, is they're calling themselves Team Canada. It's like, you guys basically destroyed the country, now you're going to call yourself Team Canada. It doesn't make sense. People, hopefully they don't fall for it. I don't know. And there's the evil one there. War criminal Netanyahu looks like a demon. He does look like a demon. Look at this guy. I don't know. I don't really trust a face like that. All right. And this is, remember when people were saying the Liberals were having a comeback 2 weeks ago? Yeah, so this is a Nanos poll. Little closing of the gap, but not much. But still, there was polls, for context, there was polls. A poll from Ecos. Was it Ecos? Yeah, that showed like the Liberals like 3 points behind, which is probably weighted against the Conservatives or something, because this one's showing the Conservatives still have a, what is that, 16-point lead? I can't. 14. Yeah, 16-point lead still, but not insurmountable. Chip away at it. That's what they're going to try and do. Massive lead. 16 points. And this is what I argue all the time. It's hard to put into words because it's so complex, but people say, oh, you want Muslims to come to Canada. I was like, no, I don't think Canada should be a Muslim country at all. But the ones that are supporting Israel don't understand that the irony, this guy puts it good, is the irony of supporting Israel because you don't like Muslims in your country, is that without Israel, there wouldn't be any Muslims in your country. And the more you support Israel, the more Muslims will keep pouring into your country. Look how much you guys support them. Look how many there's going to be a lot coming, trust me. Our greatest ally, not. USAID is actually behind the refugee programs in Greece. There are a lot of refugee groups in Greece. I wonder where they get their money, because they're always well funded. There's the Conservatives trying to... Pierre Poilievre's been kind of lost in the Trump shuffle here. He's not really... I guess when compared to Trump, he's kind of meek and just kind of looks like some bureaucrat, a pencil pusher. So he's getting kind of, in my opinion, he's getting a little lost in the shuffle. And kind of Doug Ford's trying to bump him out of the spotlight. So it's weird. And even we'll see today in a few of these posts, some conservatives who are like diehard Pierre guys are starting to doubt about him, like saying, hey, I like Pierre. And this is as soon as Trudeau left, there's nothing for Pierre to run on almost. Like he kind of based his whole thing on, his whole leadership on anti-Trudeau. And now he feels maybe he's got to just find his footing again. But he's getting kind of lost in the shuffle. Some of his followers getting a little frustrated. It's interesting to see. We'll see if he can punch back. I mean, he said the right things, I suppose, but he hasn't really said it in very inspiring way for the, somewhat at the point where the country kind of needs a little bit of inspiration. I wouldn't count on a politician to give me inspiration, but it doesn't hurt for regular people to see it. But he's not really lighting that fire for them. So this is the latest thing they're trying to do, especially now with the fentanyl in the news. Oh, let's just watch it. All right, sorry. Stop fentanyl. Mandatory fentanyl kingpins. Life sentences. Life-saving treatment. I guess. I don't know. Like, it makes sense to go after fentanyl dealers and that, but I don't know. It just seems very I think this is what the people are saying about Pierre. Is they're saying he's very reactionary, okay? Like, he didn't mention any of this stuff until Donald Trump mentioned it. He didn't mention the genders question. He didn't answer the gender question until Donald Trump answered it. So I think they're accusing Pierre of being very reactionary. Instead of being a leader, he's being a reactionary guy. It's kind of weak. Like, he doesn't really stand for anything, though. I mean, that's what that tells me. He's like, I stand for what's popular or what's easy, like what he showed with the COVID experience. He didn't want to rock the boat. Like, he wasn't a leader, but he didn't want to rock the boat. And he didn't even apologize. So, now he's acting like he's being criticized as being reactionary. And I agree. He's been very, very reactionary because he doesn't want to talk about anything controversial until he has to. And that is not a leader. All right. So there is his tough on fentanyl thing. Yeah. He waited till Donald Trump talked about it. Again, reactionary. All right. Reminder, Carney was all for investing in oil pipelines and coal and LNG elsewhere across the planet when he was at Brookfield. But Canada doesn't deserve that kind of investment as it would help our country prosper. So, yeah, he's already attacking the oil industry, the energy industry in Canada. Like, he's not even prime minister yet, so, yeah. But he'll do it in the private sector. Like, these guys are hypocrites. This is Richard Sanders. I've been covering international politics for 35 years. Netanyahu's smirk may be the most appalling thing I've ever seen. It is. Where is it? Look at that smirk.
Would Palestinians have the right to return to Gaza if they left while the rebuilding?
And look at this.
I hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth. And right now, I've seen every picture from every angle, better than if I were there. And nobody can live there. You can't live there. So if we can build them through a massive.
But if you notice in this picture here, if you notice in this picture, Netanyahu has the red tie that Trump usually has, and Trump has the blue tie, which usually Biden wears a tie like that. So it's kind of like, what is this, a humiliation ritual? It's kind of funny. It's like they're switching ties or something. Or maybe it was just, I don't know. I don't think everything's so choreographed. I don't think they would leave that detail out. Like they'd say, hey man, what tie is he going to wear? So, yeah. He does have an evil smirk, that guy. All right. He is a demon. Sorry. And with Elon Musk, we're at this stage of the movie. This is a good movie, Truman Show, where he's trying to escape his town and he figures out he's in a bubble and he's the character in the show. He hits the dome. And then he hits the side. All right, so that's where we're supposed to be heading. I believe it. There's lots of stuff going to come out. Hopefully. USA dumped $41.7 million into Georgian elections. That's what they did in Ukraine too. It's basically just a slush fund for CIA. Okay. This is Doug Ford telling CNN, I can't support someone hell-bent on destroying our province. Ford tells CNN he remains prepared to rip up deal with Elon Musk. Yeah, he's already destroyed Ontario. He doesn't have to worry about Elon Musk destroying Ontario. Oh my God. And this is another thing that's bothering me. Is Trudeau resigned forever ago, and he's still out acting like he's the prime minister instead of some caretaker role that he should be playing. You know, he's going around traveling all these summits, not like an AI summit. Really, does he really need to be there? I don't think so. Meeting with European allies. Yeah, you're not going to be in there in a couple weeks, so you got to meet. It's ridiculous. The guy just does not want to go away. Imagine saying you were going to resign from a company and then continue to soak them to travel around the world until they decide to leave. Well, that's what Trudeau is doing, but with our tax money. Yeah, it's a joke. And not only that, he's deciding on big important issues with Trump, which he shouldn't be nowhere near. What happened to Toronto? Average ride in TTC in Toronto. I haven't been on the TTC in a while.
Former Proud Boy Enrique Tarrio announces.
I have to go check that out. And this is another story that's kind of like in Canada, is because now that Trump has kind of postponed the tariffs, they're starting to talk about, what can we do in Canada to soften the blow of, and they're talking about pipelines, and it says overwhelming majority of Canadians, 79%, want to build pipelines across this country. All right, it's a lot, but there's a lot of controversy because the Quebec politicians all day have been saying no pipelines through Quebec. So, but basically, what that means is we could ship you could build a pipeline as far as Ontario, I guess, and Atlantic Canada's screwed for oil. They'd have to import it. So. But even then, they should have at least built the Ontario one. Maybe it needs to be more. Maybe it's not viable. I don't know. If you don't go through Quebec, I don't know. And this was an interesting thing. It's trying to get inside Trump's head, which is almost impossible, when he's talking about Canadian sovereignty. And I think Global News went and talked to Steve Bannon, who's kind of like a Trump guru, but I don't know how together they are. He's still connected to a lot of the movement in Washington. And so they were talking to him about Canada. It's pretty interesting.
This is about to become your softest underbelly.
He's talking about the
north of
Arctic.
Canada, that open border with whatever climate changes, but the beginning of the Northwest Passage, but more importantly, China and Russia, the great powers, and the United States, fighting it out over the Arctic with the vast resources of the Arctic is going to be the new great game of the 21st century. Canada, you are thrust into the middle of that, and quite frankly, you are the greatest, I don't know if target or prize. You're like asking, you're the great prize of that. That as you awaken, and the geoeconomically, he's saying, hey, the United States market's so lucrative, you're going to have to pay a premium to get through the golden door, right? Canada could be all part of that. The geoeconomics of North America combined, and the geostrategic interest of North America combined, and particularly hemispheric defense, all the way from Argentina and Brazil under Bolsonaro, all the way up to the Canadian Arctic, is what the first half of the 21st century is going to be about. Trump is laying this out in a very sophisticated way, and avant-garde thinkers strategically and economically are coming and say, this guy's onto something. Listen, this is the golden market, right? You're going to pay a toll to get access to the United States. You're either going to have to shift your manufacturing here, or you're going to pay a premium. And this is not a 25% toll tariff punitive on an avocado coming from Mexico, or from a part made in Ontario that comes into Detroit under the hood into an engine. This is something much deeper, right? It's much deeper, that he's going to look at some sort of tariff, trade, and duties to have external revenue in the United States. Now, if you're part of that market, which is what I think he's talking about in making you a state or agreeing with you a state, then you're inside. Then you're inside the golden door. The compelling logic of the 21st century, geostrategically and geoeconomically, is going to make this at least something that Canadian people have to weigh and measure and consider. Look, for a couple of 100 years, you've been part of what was once the greatest empire on earth. You're still one of the Dominion countries. It's just times change, things change, geostrategically it changes, and now you're going to have a rethink. It has nothing to do with the obsession of our revolutionary generation and our framers to militarily invade Canada 3 times, 3 failures I might add, 0 for 3, has nothing to do with that. But I think, and look, people here love Canadians, they just do. So it's going to be something and when you guys think through the hard decisions that have to be made, particularly the Arctic, particularly hemispheric defense, particularly geoeconomically, what this means, internal logic is going to drive you that somehow we have to figure out how to partner with the United States, and what form that takes. That's what President Trump's genius is.
So there you go. I don't necessarily endorse it or say that's what we should do or that's what's going to happen. I just thought it was interesting. Get inside their kind of the thinking down there. Very interesting. He's a very interesting guy. And the Arctic's going to be very interesting strategically, especially if, the shipping lanes open and all that. So I saw this headline, Global News. With Canada on the brink of a tariff war with the United States, a common enemy is now U.S. President Donald Trump, one expert said. And this is what I was talking about. I was like, these guys have so much failure. Our Canadian politicians have so much failure and incompetence that has yet to be exposed. There's still a lot more that still needs to be exposed. But they've had so much failure that they get this boogeyman now. They've basically pulling the play from the Democratic playbook. The Democratic Party is just basically everything's Trump's fault. And that's what they're trying to do here in Canada. And Trump, I said, maybe he did this on purpose. He kind of pulled the wool from under them, the rug from under them, wool over their eyes, rug, I don't know. And took that issue, kind of neutralize that issue of him still messing with their heads, but now they can't really campaign against him. I don't know. But it's convenient for them to blame all their incompetence on Donald Trump. It's weak, very weak. Take some responsibility for your actions. All right, so this is what we're talking about too, is about we're having the internal discussions now of how we should run the country after getting threatened by the states. And one of those things was to build a pipeline. And so much for Team Canada. So this is the Bloc Québécois leader, yes. Yves Blanchet says he strongly opposes any pipeline from Western Canada through Quebec to the Atlantic because it would sacrifice prosperity and undermine the sovereignty of Quebec. And you know, actually to Atlantic, I never thought of that because there's like nobody in Atlantic Canada, but you could load those onto tankers and ship them to Europe, that oil. But we have no infrastructure, and Quebec doesn't want that to happen. Like not an oil expert, but I'm pretty sure Alberta's got enough oil to ship in a pipeline from Alberta to the Atlantic, put on a tanker and ship to Europe. They probably have, or ship to the States, or ship wherever anyway. There's enough oil reserves there to do that probably. So anyway, this guy's saying not going to happen. So the most you can get in Canada would be a pipeline to Ontario, at least to feed the GTA in southwestern Ontario. And then you don't have to worry about an American cutoff from the other lines. Okay. Oh no, what do I do? So let's see what he says.
Considerations and ecological considerations to
And Carney won't
fiercely
do no
opposed to
pipeline
any
either.
type of transport on Quebec territory of hydrocarbons from Western Canada to any market whatsoever.
Team
it
Canada.
does not serve Quebec. It does not serve the environment. It does not serve the planet.
Team
See,
Canada.
it's a mirage that we are always being told. The LNG zombie that was never really alive, that we reanimate as a kind of slogan. The pro-hydrocarbon speech that even Mr. Carney is starting to hold as if there were a future in Western Canadian hydrocarbons. The sacrifice of interests in green energies that make Quebec rich and that are a contribution to environmental issues, which are suddenly being pushed aside from the public debate to say, you know, we are in crisis. What a great opportunity to bypass Quebec considerations and ecological considerations.
All right, so there's Team Canada there. It's all talk. There ain't no Team Canada. Because they don't want to do it. So and this is one of the, here we're talking about Pierre again. It's all kind of connected between Canada, Trump, the world, Gaza. It's all connected anyway. So I know we're a little bit scatterbrained here, but it's all connected. And this is what I was talking about. Some of the Pierre supporters are being a little frustrated with his reactionary kind of process here. He's behind the curves on a lot. This is Clyde do something. I don't know who this. I think a Pierre Poilievre government is going to be exhausting. Seems he's just behind the curve on a lot of issues and needs a nudging to get on the right page nearly every step of the way. Parental rights, no show until backlash. Borders and fentanyl. Team Canada retaliation terrorists. until backlash then pivoted to borders and fentanyl. Seems he ends up in the right spot, but only when pushed. It's like all Canadians will have to set aside time every week to make sure he's still on the right path. So yeah, not very inspiring to the faithful. I wasn't really, I never really supported him. Like, he's basically a liberal light globalist. But there are, the conservatives that support him because he's not Trudeau are not very happy because he's not being that inspirational leader that they see down south, I guess. Hard to compare yourself. This is a good cartoon I've seen a few times today. Here's the money that Doge saved us. Thanks. And then he goes and gives it to Israel. That's funny. All right. They say the role of government. They say the role of government is to manage the economy to ensure prosperity for Canadians. But last time I checked, we're trillions in debt, and the 25% of the country lives in poverty, even though we have the third largest oil and fifth largest gold deposit on the planet. Yes, I say the same thing. Nobody screw up this bad unless it was done on purpose. So it leaves you wondering because, oh no, we're like such a land of riches that to see the Canada mismanaged the way it has been, it's really is sad. All right, back to where I am. Yeah, it's like almost the federal government should just be abolished. All they do is seem to waste money and screw up things. And steal money and then screw up things more. And I guarantee it seems like you could do 80%, cut them 80%, and it'd still run. It'd probably run better. Like the province, whatever they didn't do, the province would pick up. They already got the ministry set up already. All they do seems waste money. Like same with the U.S. Like same way the U.S. government. Now in our liberal leadership race, our fake liberal leadership race, tomorrow, they have to come up with the candidates have to come up with $125,000 by tomorrow at 5 p.m. to stay in the race. Karina Gould says the Liberal Party purposely want to make the field of candidates small. Sounds like trouble in liberal paradise. Fake leadership race. And someone's making fun of the RCMP here. The RCMP is putting out these tweets. Excellent work by our colleagues in Manitoba using tools like thermal imaging. We're keeping Canada's border protected. Obviously, they're just trying to look good for to avoid Donald Trump's ire. And then Derek says, come on, guys. We all know what you were doing for years. They were literally carrying the luggage of people crossing the border illegally. This is basically this picture. This is our Canada's border security for the last 10 years, right there. You couldn't get a more succinct picture for the situation. And, you need somebody to say, put a stop to that. Do their job, maybe. Do your jobs. Now you're doing your job? Oh. Remember when Catherine McKenna lost $93 billion and Chrysler Freeland brought $2 billion of stock in a company that didn't exist? Or $300 million to Quebec vaccine plant that shut down? Arrive scam, Green Slush Fund, We Charity, SNC. Yeah, it's crazy. We got to just abolish the federal government. They're wasting so much money. It's like you give people money, tons of money that they didn't make. Of course they're going to waste it. I like this one, this meme. Today, with the Gaza refugees coming to Canada, I'm sure Canada will be taking thousands more Palestinian refugees and probably more from Lebanon and Syria too. Thanks for nothing, Israel. Yes, they're going to empty out the Middle East and send them all here. What do you think's been going on the last 30 years? But let's keep supporting them. We need to send the Palestinians somewhere. This is funny.
Where? Where?
This is for Europe, but Canada's the same.
Where, Dwight?
Seems like you already know where.
That's funny. All right. And this is part of the USAID story. Politico was getting millions of dollars or lots of money. I don't know how much actually. The government was buying subscriptions to Politico. So basically funneling money to them. And I guess the Canadian government was doing the same thing. And Politico's garbage. They did this stupid piece on Doug Ford being this tough Trumper, anti-Trump fighter. It's a garbage CIA rag, apparently. And if the federal government gave them any money, it's wasted money. So, Trudeau Liberals have charged taxpayers over $1.6 million on on subscriptions, data, and other services from Politico for various government departments. Oh my God. The revelation comes after it was revealed that the U.S. government spent $8.1 million subsidizing the outlet. So yeah, they got millions. Holy shit. I never read Politico. I think that's garbage. I don't know what they're saying now.
Back and forth, jobs at stake. Why should the longest undefended border in the world, which we pride ourselves in having, 400,000 people a day cross the border back and forth, billions of dollars of trade back and forth, jobs at stake. I don't understand why somebody can sort of willy-nilly throw out a suggestion that the entire Canadian border should be militarized. I don't think that's predicated on fact or evidence. We have incredibly strong teams, a strong border which is getting stronger. The RCMP, the CBSA, conservation officers, Indigenous police, provincial police forces, municipal police forces are cooperating. This is an important moment because we have jobs at stake. And so I think Mr. Poilievre has some explaining to do.
All right. That was in response. That's a Poilievre was saying to put the military at the border. I don't know. Where's he
countdown
hiding?
clock to your last day means you get to be really ruthless about the things you want to do and the things that you don't want to do.
I want to start by saying,
I don't know. He sounds a little whacked out, this guy. He really needs to go. This is what I don't know how real this is, but it's all this money sent out from Canada. This is taxpayer money going out. Oh my God. 10 million. Advancing sexual and reproductive health and rights. Advancing sexual and reproductive health since Cabo Delgado. 18 million. Oh my God. 584,000. Aga Khan Foundation got 20 million almost. And this is Trudeau getting that's where Trudeau went for vacation. To this guy's place. And he got 20 million. Wow. There's more too. Oh my gosh. $31 million, 75. Wow. Sounds like a bunch of money laundering here. This is a funny headline too. Fresh off unifying Canadians, Trump unites entire planet against his turn Gaza into a Trump resort plan. Yeah, so like I said, he's focused on Gaza now. He's like a dog. He sees something else, he gets his distraction, he goes to the other thing. So good. Stay on Gaza. Then we can, the politicians can talk, our politicians can talk, instead of talking about you, they can talk about their incompetence and their failure, or they can at least try to answer the questions put forward to them. Okay, this is another thing. They don't want to call back Parliament. Supposedly, we're in this. This is such a joke. Like, Team Canada is a joke. They don't. Nothing meaningful will get done with these clowns. Now that they don't even want to go back to Parliament. Let's see what she says. Federal Trade Minister.
For at least another 30 days.
Should Parliament not be sitting right now? Should parliamentarians not be debating and discussing how to move forward with this threat hanging over our heads?
I think what you're seeing is the government and the Prime Minister leading and doing this work as a government, but we're not doing this alone. The Prime Minister meets with the First Ministers every week, and sometimes more if needed, so the premiers and territorial leaders. He has a council that is made up of labor leaders as well as business leaders that he engages with. I and my colleagues on cabinet are part of a Canada-US Cabinet Committee. We make decisions, we make recommendations, we are doing the work and governing, and Canadians should be very confident that this work is taking place. And you saw on Monday that Prime Minister Trudeau has done that work to stave off these tariffs for at least another 30 days.
Oh, God. So basically, oh yeah, who needs that pesky Parliament? It's just nothing big. We don't need it. Like, it's ridiculous. They need to. It's really an insult to Canadians that they talk like this, like they don't want this part. It's like a nuisance to them. Disgraceful. All right. And this is like a lot of posts today about our wasted money being wasted, like billions of dollars overseas, and probably into corrupt practices at home. We need something like this, like cutting. We need to expose a lot of this in Canada, because we can't keep doing this.
Trump's tariff threat. So she said that it would make Canada stronger. Do you believe that too?
I just answered this question. It's the same thing. We talk about EnergyS or GNL. I think that we need to have social acceptability. And if Daniel Smith or whoever table projects will look at them, but we need to have social acceptability.
So basically, social acceptability is, oh, we can't, voters in Quebec don't want a pipeline, so we're not going to do it. All right. Team Canada. And that's it for today. So, yeah, no Team Canada. This is Team Canada.
Premier Smith's idea.
It's all a lie. It's all bullshit. Anyway. Our head's spinning a little this week. Mine's spinning a little. But it's no big. We'll see what happens. But this Team Canada thing is all BS. We need definitely new leadership around here. All right. We will see you Monday.